still driving my truck back and forth. All these places.
Get them. You better get them.
They don't do something. I'm going to start sitting in my office. Like the other man was doing.
Better get them.
Drive on there. They're going to crucify me for doing my job. And that's why I feel like I'm being penalized. Because I'm doing my job.
You've been submitting them.
The last one I got was November. The board has to see it and approve it first. They're probably going to approve December's. They're probably going to approve November's and December. I don't know. I didn't see it. Because I'm tired of using my credit card. They're going to refund me, and I asked them to buy me a truck, and they said, no.
I thought you were getting a truck.
I found the truck. Let's buy me a truck. Buy me a brand new truck, $30,000.
You told me. This is the reason why.
That's not a lot of money for a truck.
I heard the amount of 12,000 for the school.
Yeah.
Something like that.
But it's not a real good truck.
Let me see it. So did you check the smart phone?
Because that is real pretty.
This is the one that you sent me.
I can pay $12,000 this year, and then the rest next year, if I put the rest of my budget for next year.
Yeah, it's going to be 211 now. That's your birthday. Well, they're not going to do 218. It's going to be 211.
Call to order this agenda meeting for the Woodland Hills School Board. Mr. Gigliotti, will you call the roll, please?
Ava Johnson.
Here.
Paige Strasberg. Paul.
Here.
Sorry. Jamie Glasser.
Present.
Jeff Hanchett. Jeff Hildebrand.
Present.
Mike Belmont.
Sure.
Akia Kester.
Here.
Sharday Seligson.
Present.
David Graves.
Here.
8 present.
Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
No, everybody stayed alive.
Okay.
Okay, now what's going on?
Right. We would be remiss if we didn't note that we have suffered a couple more injuries to students today due to gun violence, and that is something that we continue to be very concerned about and look to do whatever we can do to help remedy situations in the communities that need to be addressed to prevent future violence of that kind. Moving on, we'll note that next week we will accept the minutes from both the reorganization and legislative meeting in December. I will note to Mr. Gigliotti that the date for the legislative meeting is incorrect on the agenda. It says the 7th. It should be the 4th, I believe.
Yeah, I see that now.
We did have an executive session this evening to discuss legal and personnel matters. Mr. Johnson, are there any announcements?
Just a couple in this class, sir. First of all, board members at your places. Hopefully there's a memorandum from the Allegheny Intermediate Unit from Mr. Thomas Kelly. It's giving you information about the annual Convention of School Directors and the election of AIU board members. It's on Monday, April 30th at Sheraton Station Square. Mr. Belmont has attended this class, and a couple of others have attended that. It's always a good program. More importantly, though, there are 4 positions available on the AIU board, and we haven't been represented on that board for a couple of years, so certainly hoping that one or more of you will consider putting your name in the hat, as it were, for a position on the AIU board. That's a $120 or $30 million operation, and we spent quite a bit of money through the IU, and I think we need to have a voice on that. So please review that when you get a chance and consider running. The other thing is, I want to thank publicly Mr. Lee Schaefer. You don't see Lee here very much because he's back in the back, and he's helping Steve to run the video, and Lee was formerly a audio-visual director and a physics teacher at Woodland Hills, before that Churchill High School. And recently, a friend of his who was a former student passed away and left Lee some of about $500 to use as he wished. And Mr. Schaefer has donated that money to the high school for the purposes of buying STEM-related books and materials, and I thought that was very nice. He was under no compunction to do that, and he did it on his own. We got a letter from him, so I just want to publicly thank Lee. That was a gift that was meant for him, and he paid it forward and gave it back to us in the school district, and I appreciate Lee doing that. And the last thing I wanted to mention was we had a snow cancellation last week, as you know. So the makeup day for that will be February 19th, which had formerly been a snow makeup day. February the 19th will now be a regular school day to make up for that loss of the day we had. And that will also push the last day of the first semester an additional day back. I believe it's the 24th now. Now it'll be the 25th. That would also offset report card distributions by one day, so forget the day that the report cards are supposed to be distributed. It'll be one day later than that now. So the semester will end the day after it normally was, and that day will be made up on February the 19th. And that's all I have, ma'am.
Okay. I have one additional announcement, and that is that the junior high musical is this weekend, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. Please make an effort to see that. And also, winter sports are ongoing, so if you have an opportunity to get out to any of the sporting events that are happening for any of our teams, I encourage you to do that as well. Okay. Moving on to student speakers. We don't have any of those tonight.
No, not tonight. No presentations.
No presentations this evening either. We had one registered speaker, Ms. Boobin, who I don't see here tonight, so we will move on then to the agenda.
And board matters, action item 2.1, which is to approve the Tricog Land Bank proposed property acquisitions. Essentially, you're just being asked to approve the list of properties that are within Woodland Hills that the Land Bank wants to move forward with purchasing this year. That is attached.
Any questions on that?
Action item 2.2, request approval of the LERTA program. Applications were submitted on behalf of PC Partners. I used to know what LERTA stands, Local Economic Revitalization Tax
Abatement.
Tax abatement. That's in Wilkins Township. The two locations are listed under the content there. I think Mr. Vogel's reviewed those and found them to be satisfactory.
Yeah.
Any questions on that? That'll move us to Section 4, Special Education, and action item 4.1, which is approval to ratify an agreement with HDS Center for Hearing and Deaf Services for translation services at a cost of $50 for the first hour and $12.50 for every 15 minutes past the first hour. This is for use in meetings with parents who do not speak English as their primary language.
Okay. Any questions on that?
We have to have a translator for those.
Seeing none.
Action item 4.2, approval to ratify the contract with the Watson Institute and Friendship Academy for the 17-18 school year in the amount of $44,788. This is for a student who will be attending that institute.
That'll be prorated, Mr. Johnson, for the school year?
Yeah.
Thank you. Any other questions on that?
We'll move on to Section 5, action item 5.1 under Pupil Personnel. Permission to approve the Caring Foundation Agreement at no cost to the district. The program will be implemented at the intermediate school. An attachment describing that is on the agenda. It is a peer support group that's going to focus in on grief counseling or just really students managing their feelings about deaths. That doesn't necessarily mean violent. It could also just be death of a loved one. It is a pilot project and is being offered at no cost to us.
Any questions on that?
I didn't notice. Did it say how long it was for? Is it just for the rest
Dawn,
of the
can
year,
you
or
speak to that, how long that'll be? Do you know?
as long as we want?
I think it's just going to be for the school year, but we can look at extending it beyond that. We're also looking at how we can get it implemented into some of the other buildings as well.
Okay. Thanks, Dawn.
Thank you.
Can we move on?
Yes, I'm sorry.
Action item 5.2, permission to approve Ruth's Way, I can't pronounce that, MOU, for an after-school program at no cost to the district. The program will be implemented at the junior-senior high school. There are a number of attachments there that describe it. Just in full disclosure, Ruth's Way is a faith-based organization, and that's fine. We are allowed and encouraged to work with faith-based organizations as long as they don't proselytize, and this group does not proselytize. They are looking to work with young girls at the intermediate school on issues like self-esteem, grooming, a whole host of issues. And we're actually excited to have them want to work with us, and we would strongly recommend you approve this. Again, there's a number of attachments you can look at describing what they'll do. So it is faith-based, but it's not, what they will do is not a religious function. It is purely about working with young ladies.
I have a question.
Oh, go ahead.
Okay. So there's a cohort of 10 girls to start. Is there a maximum amount of students or girls that they'll have since our schools are so low?
I'm not aware that they would expand. I don't know, Dawn, if you have any information on that. I think that was what they were going to work with, and it was not going to go larger than that at this point.
Yeah, initially, they wanted to start small,
Mm-hmm.
with a smaller cohort of students,
Mm-hmm.
and then look to increase that at some point if we, deem necessary and deem appropriate.
Okay. But there's not a cutoff to a number of students. So say they have the 10 girls that are interested, and then, 2-3 months down the line, 10 more girls are interested. Would that be an option to add on an additional?
I'm sure they would allow us to add on.
Okay.
Right.
Thank you.
So you said intermediate school, but it says high school. I'm trying to remember where I saw.
Junior, senior
Oh, I'm sorry. I apologize. It's the junior senior. I
Oh, that's fine.
was thinking intermediate grade levels, but it's the junior senior high. It's not the intermediate building. My bad.
I'm sorry, I have another question. So, are the girls going to be chosen from each grade, or how is this going to work?
What we're going to do is we're going to have the administrators and the social workers at the junior senior high school select the students, the initial cohort of students and kids that they want to recommend to start, as part of the program.
Okay.
So we feel like they have a better idea of what kids could best
Benefit. Okay.
benefit from this. Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any additional questions? Okay, seeing none.
I have a question.
Oh, sorry.
So this is being provided at, excuse me, this is being provided at no cost to the district. Is there a reason? Like it's not a pilot program, is it?
I think it's like a pilot program, isn't it, Dawn? I mean, they haven't done a lot of schools other than us, I don't think, have they?
No, but she received grants
Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
to provide
And we were just identified. Okay. All right. Thank you.
How long is this, the school year, or do they do it year-round?
It'll be to the end of the school year, I believe. She asked how long. I said it's to the end of the school year for this initial phase, and then we'll reassess it. And if it's successful, as we hope it will be, we'll continue it on next year and hopefully add to it. So we've long needed something that really focused on girls and haven't had that. And so this is, I think the only thing that constrains them at this point is they're not a large organization, so they don't want to exceed their own capabilities, because then that's when things don't work. So they want to start out with a manageable group until they understand it better, and then we will, hopefully can pull the limits out and add more girls to the program.
Any other questions? Okay.
Action item 5.3, a permission to approve the Ask Me Hear Me proposal at no cost to the district. The program will be implemented at the junior senior high school. This is a goal. This is a program that is designed to help teachers and I think even parents. Dawn, you know more about this. Do you want to speak to this real quick again? I'm sorry. I keep calling on Dawn, but this was her baby, I think.
This is actually a pilot program. This one is actually a pilot program, and what it is it's focusing on mental health prevention. So there's an app that is associated with this particular program, and it asks questions about mental health, specific diagnoses, and based on the feedback or the answers to the questions, it provides information for the student and also the parent to maybe get help, get support services, learn more about what the diagnosis is actually about. It also has, a blurb in there that if somebody feels suicidal or something, what steps or what measures you could take, in the event that you have those feelings as well. So it's really focusing on gaining a better understanding of mental health and how we can support mental health, and how making students aware of mental health, making parents aware of mental health, just that whole educational piece. Yep.
Okay. While she's up here, I want to publicly thank Dawn. These recent months when we've had these tragedies, which unfortunately seem to continue, Dawn's been the young lady that every time we've needed to get grief counselors set up, that's who we go to. And I just want to thank you, Dawn, because every time we've needed that, you've come through and made it happen. And it's not gone unnoticed, and I'm very grateful for your help on that.
I appreciate it.
And, just in general, these things in this proposal here, and you're going to see more of this as time goes by, coming out of everything that's happened at Woodland Hills and coming out of our community forum meetings, we're just making a really sincere commitment to reaching out and trying to develop more partnerships. We realize that we are primarily an educational institution. We think we do a good job at that. We're not trained as counselors. We're not trained as mental health workers. We're not trained to do a lot of these things, but there are agencies that do that. And the solution to these ultimately is going to be when schools and those kind of partners learn how to work together. And we're determined to do that, and Dawn's one of the people making that happen. So thanks again, Dawn, and that's just what we're doing. That. So thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Any questions on that program?
All right, action. We moved on to personnel and section 6 and action item 6.1. Authorizations. Well, we're looking at sections B, C, D, and G rather than go through all that, and that's in your attachment there.
Questions on personnel executive?
Right.
So, anybody have anything we need to discuss and go into session for? Okay.
Okay. That'll move us on to technology and action item 7.1. Request approval for the data center remote support services at a cost of $6,000. This is a data center that supports, I guess, basically all of our networking operations. This is a renewal. We do this every year.
Any questions on that?
Action item 7.2, this is an important one. Requesting approval for the district bus routing software, purchase of a bus routing software through Traversa, at a cost of $28,963. Siobhan, Steve, and a number of other people have been Mike too, have been putting a lot of work into this. And this is the software that we'll use to begin working on automatic routing. And we hope to really, really improve the efficiency of our vast transportation services. Also, this is the one Pittsburgh uses, and we are hoping to be able to work cooperatively with Pittsburgh Public on the same platform.
Any questions?
I do. We were looking at Bus Boss before, so what made us decide on this one finally?
Get that, Siobhan?
Just ultimately going through more presentations of what each program should do, and just that the matrix there, kind of cost analysis overall, and also that we are entering into this partnership with Pittsburgh Public.
I need some all day.
So that our data will be
Easy.
on the same sort of platform and readable to other districts to help enter into this partnership program. But the way that it's going to operate seems to be a little bit more seamless. It's coming to the way it interfaces with Power Schools.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say.
Therefore, how often the updates will happen throughout the day, let alone the week, because our transportation does change throughout the day, and those updates will be seen throughout the day by, myself and people in all the buildings, we have to be able to change. They ultimately both basically did the same sort of things, just a little bit of tweaking on the technology and how quickly roll over, and then, like I said, the public partnership.
Yeah, I think the PPS is probably, for me at least, was the deciding. You could weigh and find things, and at the end of the day, we could have done the job with either one. But the link that Pittsburgh Public and the fact that we are discovering lots of opportunities for some cooperative work there, at least for me, made Traversa the one that seemed to be should be the one we go with, because that's what they're using, and that will give us some good opportunities for sharing of information.
Can I ask a question? So the tab says that it's a $29,000 cost, just about, but it is a 3-year contract. Is that my understanding?
Yes.
Okay. So the rest of the costs are enumerated there and the rest. So total cost will be in the neighborhood of $70,000 over 3 years.
Yes,
Okay.
that's
All right.
correct.
Just making sure that's clear.
And we'll have to approve that each year.
Right. Okay.
One more question. The training, what does that look like again? I forgot. It's like just an initial training that we get, or that.
I know they come on site, Joel.
I remember correctly, they will be on site for a few days to train key people who will be using it on a daily basis, and then they also do have online classes, so that anybody else that we need to add on to will be able to do that.
Any other questions on that?
Yeah, so implementation time. So they're going to start it.
Think it's
Now.
summer,
Right
right?
Oh, please.
But it said 16, 17 on the school year on this thing. So
We would like to actually, we want to start using it to actually schedule our ESY. So as soon as we get the okay for this, we're going to start with the data, roll over what we're going to need to do, and they have to work with power schools as well, so that, we need to make that all happen basically at the same time.
yeah, I was just hoping it happens before like the first day of school.
Oh, yeah. You want to have it.
We don't want that to pile up.
Yes, well,
Okay.
so that we'll be able to see a little bit of the rollout, for ESY.
Okay.
It won't be as complicated a transition as Power School will be, so we should be able to get that fairly quickly. Any other questions? Action item 7.3, request approval to purchase new software and licenses for the high school surveillance servers at a cost of $5,700. The company we work with there has upgraded their operating systems, and we basically need a new server software to allow us to continue to service our surveillance cameras.
Any questions on that? Okay. Seeing none.
Go to Section 9, Food Service Transportation, Action Item 9.1. Request approval for advanced petroleum services to replace the gas pumps at the warehouse from the Capital Reserve Fund 32 for $15,989. The ones we have now still have hand cranks and little bubbly things that spin around when you're pumping gas. They are right out of the 50s. Like literally out of the 50s.
They're worth money. We can sell them. They're antiques. They're antiques. We could try to sell
They
them.
may have value as antiques. That's actually a very good
We
point.
can repurpose it.
We should look at. Is there just one though? Isn't there? Bob? There's not two. There's two.
One gas, one diesel.
I think they're pretty rusted, but if they weren't, I'd say we should maybe actually.
I refab and put it in my garage.
Well, I'll
right.
take it.
There you go.
Maybe let's ask the contractor to try to salvage them if we can.
I think we can.
All right.
Yeah.
About it once we get it approved.
Sounds good.
Very good.
How much are you giving us?
Ow.
All right. Can we?
Any additional questions on that? Okay.
Buildings and grounds.
One more comment, fine. This was the lowest of three quotes.
Oh yeah, thank you.
I
Sorry.
get quoted.
Okay. Good to know.
Action item 10.1. Request approval to hire McFarland, Kistler, and Associates as food service and laundry consultants for the Dixon Intermediate Project at a cost of $16,900. Capital Project Fund 39. It's for the Dixon renovation program.
Any questions on that? Okay. Seeing none.
Action item 10.2. Request approval of the 2018 Mr. John rental agreement. First billing cycle in the amount of $916 with a recurring amount of $796 per month.
Any questions on that?
Do you know how many of those we have, Bob, off the top of your head?
We have, I think it's roughly around 7, because we have in every field throughout the school district, and I believe the high school has 2.
Okay. Go on to action item 10.3. Action item 10.3. Request approval. I'm sorry, I lost my place here. Request approval of the quote by Maley Mechanical, LLC, to supply all labor and material to dig around 9 air vents at Wilkins Primary that lead into the crawl space under the building in the amount of $7,146. These are areas that we discovered where water was infiltrating into the crawl space, and we need to staunch that flow, and that's what this will do.
Any questions on that?
Is any of this related to the new work that's been done at Wilkins?
No.
Okay.
Wasn't even the same area, no.
Any other questions? Okay. Seeing none.
Action item 10.4. Ratify the work completed by Maley Mechanical, LLC, at the high school, intermediate, and Wilkins to make necessary repairs to systems in the amount $10,593 with funding coming from the Capital Reserve Fund. The invoices are attached. It was a hodgepodge of repairs to heating and boiler systems in those buildings.
Any questions? Okay. Seeing none?
Action item 10.5, ratify the work completed on boilers at Dixon, Swissville Library, the Academy, Rankin, the Intermediate, and the Junior Senior High School in the total amount of $69,850.96. There are several detailed invoices. These were all strictly from Combustion Services to do extensive work on boilers at all those buildings. One of the things that we would like to do if we are able to have the board retreat we've been discussing is I think you need to be updated on the status of our various heating systems across the district, but suffice it to say they were not, I think it's safe to say without insulting anybody, they weren't maintained as well as they ought to have been over time, and we brought in CSC, which is a very good company, and they did, as you can see, a lot of work. It's fairly costly, but really brought our boilers at least up to the best condition they could be, given the time they had to do it. It was expensive, but I think it was money well spent.
Any questions on that? Okay.
Thank you for that, because I know that was a lot of money, but it was work that was badly needed. Action on 10.6, request approval of facility usage by outside groups. It's attached.
Any questions on those?
Just as a side note, I am going to, you haven't given the committee assignments yet, but I would like to, whoever gets policy committee, I would like to meet with them, whoever it is, and Bob and Mike and a few others, because we really need to re-examine our facilities policy. We've had some issues where that policy was not administered properly in the preceding years, and we need to straighten that out. So,
okay, we'll keep that in mind.
Yep.
Any questions? Okay.
Action item 10.7. Request approval to award the following bids for surplus equipment to the highest bidders. These are surplus equipment we had that we are selling, and you can see the names under the public content there.
Any questions on those? Okay.
Action item 10.8. Request approval for the surplus kitchen equipment to be scrapped. There is a file attached to that I think shows you the equipment we're talking about. It had no salvage value or resale value that we could discern, and we're just looking to get rid of it.
Any questions on that? Okay.
Action item 10.9, request approval to scrap an old football sled. I think there's a picture attached to that as well.
Any questions on that one?
Action item 10.10, request approval to scrap the attached miscellaneous broken items at the high school. There are a number of pictures. There's some old tables, just some old metal racks. This was looked at pretty thoroughly by Bob and his crew, and there just isn't, none of these things really have any reuse value to us. It's probably how they became to be accumulated in the first place. Somebody thought we would be able to reuse them, but there really is no.
It's an eyesore.
They are just eyesores, really. We just need to get rid of them. I don't even think there's any scrap metal value to them, is there, Bob? More than likely, because it's probably.
There is some scrap that I'm actually a bunch of scraps so we can take it all one shot. So there is some scrap there, yes.
But most of it's probably aluminium, which doesn't really have any
Correct.
resale scrap value, or at least not much. Any questions?
Question?
Sorry.
That's okay. Seeing none, we'll move on.
Action item 10.11, request approval for AGX to conduct the HERA 3-year inspection for $1,650 from the general fund. This is for asbestos, Bob, is that correct?
Correct.
Yes.
It's required every 3 years.
Any questions? Okay. Seeing none?
Action item 10.12, request approval for Robert Finney, Jeffrey Tonkovich, and Shane Aiken to attend the Siemens Control Training in Bridgeville, PA, cost of $1,950 each on February 13th, 14th, and 15th, to learn how to use the newly installed controls at our buildings.
Any questions on that?
What is that for? What controls? What are we talking about?
The
HVAC.
HVAC controls that we can, we had, yeah.
Thank you.
And that's a proprietary Siemens system, right? So it's, okay.
It's district-wide.
And it's unique knowledge that they would have to get from Siemens. Okay.
Right.
Okay.
And finally, action item 10.13, request approval of AGX to perform asbestos inspection and consulting services related to the Dixon Intermediate project at a cost not to exceed $7,500. We have to license or retain a licensed environmental consultant to certified to do the work to inspect Dixon and develop the bids for asbestos abatement that will need to be done there. That's not something our engineers or architects are able to do on their own. And AGX is who we've used for many, many years.
Yes.
It used to be CEOT.
It has to be CEOT, yes.
And they're
There's an additional motion. I just remembered what we have to do, and it's to permission to advertise for the bids. So we don't have to wait for the February meeting. If it's found and we need the specs and they can write them up, if they're done before the February meeting, I can go ahead and advertise them so we don't hold up the bidding process for the actual construction, because if there is anything found that needs to be abated, we will need to get that done before they can put the specs out for the.
So you're saying we should amend the motion?
No, I'm going to add one more. I couldn't remember what it was, and it just came to me.
So we'll be adding that as item
It'll be 1014.
1014.
It'll be authorization to advertise the bids if needed.
Okay.
Okay?
Okay.
So I'll add that.
We'll look for that next week. Okay. Any questions on either of those two?
I have a question. So the 1013 is in addition then to 1011.
Yeah, 1011 is an inspection of our other buildings.
1011 is the total district.
Yeah.
Every building in the district.
Yeah, all of our buildings have some asbestos in
Sure,
it. I don't think we have any asbestos-free buildings that I'm aware of. Maybe this one, but I'm not sure. So we have to inspect that to make sure it's still encapsulated and non-friable and
Not
so
going
forth.
to kill people. Yeah.
Yeah. And then 13 is related to the Dixon Intermediate project. Okay, they'll be going into Dixon and, looking at the building and seeing what's in there, if there's anything in there since the,
It was renovated
athletic facility building, field house is going to be demolished. They have to look to see if there's anything in there that may have to be abated before they tear it down.
So it's a much more intensive
Oh, yeah.
process.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, they'll be testing, looking and testing walls and plaster and to see if the content, because we couldn't find any report at all on Dixon. It's the only school we don't have anything on. So we need to get it so we know what's in there.
Any other questions on that? Okay.
Moving on to school finance or finance. Action item 12.1, request ratification of the bill list for invoices paid after the December 4th, 2017 legislative meeting.
Any questions on that? Okay.
Action item 12.2, request approval of the January 2018 bill list, which is attached, as well as the legal bills under executive content.
Any questions on the bill list? Okay.
I did research those items you had asked me about.
Yes.
CoreLogic and Ryan LLC, those are mortgage companies.
Okay.
And with
Just to clarify, so everybody's on the same page, there are several refunds from taxes on the bill
real estate
list.
taxes.
Yeah, real estate tax refunds that are going to the same company. So I had inquired to Mike as to what those companies are.
Yeah, so CoreLogic and Ryan LLC, they're mortgage companies that overpaid.
I see.
Okay, if you recall the hurricane that hit Texas, well, the information that came out after the hurricane was us, and they basically overpaid a lot of taxes, so we're refunding those.
Okay.
Heritage, that was an appeal to make the property tax exempt.
Okay.
So that's why that's getting returned. Marsonic is a multiple-year, multiple parcel appeal that we've actually had this in escrow for several years, and it's been decided. It's the 7-Eleven in Turtle Creek.
I see. Okay.
Okay. And then the Salt Factory is a multi-parcel appeal, refunds due to a recent sale from 2015 that they appealed.
Okay.
So it's multi-parcel, so that's why there's more than just one refund for each parcel.
Okay. Thank you.
I have a question. We bought a truck.
We did.
A truck?
Mr. Finney, we bought a truck.
We bought 2 trucks.
Yeah.
Yeah, we purchased 2 trucks.
They were CoStar's purchases, I believe?
Yes.
Yeah.
And we have one, we have a dump truck.
Are they both for the high school?
Yeah.
They're both for maintenance.
For our plumber and for
HVAC.
guy.
Electrician and HVAC.
Yes. And then we also have a dump truck for next year. We got correct. That was already approved.
I
We
believe.
didn't buy the dump truck this
No,
year.
it's not this year, but it's coming next year. Right?
I just didn't know. I don't remember talking about
We
it.
haven't put the budget together.
Oh, okay.
I just don't remember talking about it.
Okay.
It was part of the budget.
Okay.
It was a budgeted line item that we discussed when the budget was passed. It wasn't an additional item that cropped up during the
I
year. These-
think Mr. Gray's concern is should we have made those individual board tabs due to the amount of the purchase? And I think it's equivocal, but I think going forward for a major purchase like that, we need to make sure those things are actually placed as action items on the agenda when it's something that such amounts to capital equipment. Again, the code's not clear on whether that has to be individually approved by the board as long as it's provided for in the budget. But I think as a matter of transparency, more than anything, we should make sure those are done as agenda items moving forward. And we will.
Okay. Thank you.
To be clear, that was not something we had to bid because we got them from CoStar's, correct?
Yeah, they were both
Correct.
co-stars.
Okay. Okay. Moving on.
Action item 12.4, request approval of the investment reports.
12-3.
Oh, I'm sorry. You're right. Action item 12.3, request the acceptance of the November and December fund reports for informational purposes.
Any questions on those? Moving on.
Action item 12.4, request approval of the investment reports for November and December of 2017.
Any questions?
For new board members, I think it's worthwhile maybe just revisiting. We primarily invest just in two investment vehicles that we use. One is Pliget, which is
Pliget, the Pennsylvania Local Government Investment Trust,
and
and PSLAB,
Pills-
which is the
PSLAB.
Pennsylvania School District Liquid Asset Fund.
Yeah, we don't go out and invest in stocks. We don't invest in mutual funds or treasury bills. I mean, I guess those things are all
T-bills
legal.
we can invest in.
They're legal. They're legal investments for school
T-bills
districts
we
to
will
make.
and have probably invested in.
We can put them in certificates of deposit, and we do all sorts of things. And some school districts do. We generally are pretty conservative and just leave it with those two accounts because they're both insured. I think to the full amount or almost
Well,
the full amount.
they're collateralized, but we
Thank you.
have this year, as I mentioned, was it last month or 2 months ago, we do invest in CDs. We can get a better rate on CDs. They're insured to $250,000. The money's secure, and this money sits in money market accounts, basically, the majority of our funds. So where I can get a better return, I will try. For the most part, they sit in both those funds, which are managed in basically every school district is members of both of them. Every municipality in the state utilizes one or the other or both. So we utilize both.
Okay. Any questions on that?
Seeing none.
Action item 12.5, request the acceptance of the November and December student activity reports for informational purposes.
Any questions on those?
Mike, once again, for the new board members, could you quickly explain why we add the informational purposes? I'll do it, but I'll screw it up. Because of the timing of the agenda, I don't know if they know that.
It's a report. It's for informational purposes. It's to provide you information. There's nothing you're approving. You're not really approving it. You're just making it part of the record. So that's why you accept it in, so the minutes can, in the public, if they want to see this information, it'll be in the minutes.
Okay, the next one is action item 12.6, request approval of Conrad Siegel Actuaries to perform the other post-employment benefits actuarial services work related to GASB 75 audit reporting requirements. And I believe the cost on that is $7,775.
Any questions? Okay, seeing none.
We'll move to Assistant Superintendent in action item 13.1. Permission to ratify the Trib Total Media contract in the amount of $1,000 for the Woodland Hills Football Network.
Any questions on that?
Action item 13.2. Permission to approve the MOU with the Greater Pittsburgh Coalition Against Violence at no cost to the district. The program will be at the senior high school.
Any questions on that? This is the program we had the presentation from last month. Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
And again, this is one of the other partnerships we're trying to build with as many outside partners as we can. Action item 13.3. Request approval for a 1-year membership with Ed Leader at a cost not to exceed $1,000 with funding from the curriculum budget. The team will consist of Leisha Lenz, Jim Clausen, and Dr. Livingston. I'm also part of that. I think Leisha just was trying to hurt my feelings. This is essentially Ed Leaders is a consortium that they have a website that has a lot of resources for school districts, everything from curriculum to technology and a lot of other things. But it's also being joined by by 6 other school districts here in the area: McKeesport, Wilkinsburg, Penn Hills, Duquesne, Clareton, Steel Valley, East Allegheny, and South Allegheny. And the idea behind this is those school districts, we've been working at this for some time. We're trying to build some sort of coalition, not a formal coalition, but just some working relationships, because these are all districts that have similar kinds of needs and similar kinds of problems. And we believe that if we can work together, we can accomplish more than any one of us can do by ourselves. And Ed Leader is offering to help facilitate that. We do this membership, and that provides space for that to happen, in addition to a whole lot of other resources that they provide. So that's what this motion is about.
Any questions?
Jamie, I have a comment.
Yeah.
And also in this is the scope is national.
Yeah.
It's not just around here. So when Jamie and I heard about this, we were immediately for it because, we can find answers to anything. It doesn't hurt to look everywhere. So this will allow for that.
It's actually a much more expensive program, but Grable Foundation is going to subsidize. I think it's on there. I believe it's $5,000, but we're only paying $1,000. Grable will pick up $4,000 of that to support the overall project.
Any additional questions? Okay.
Action item 13.4, permission to accept the lease agreement with the YMCA, and I believe it's not Greater Pittsburgh, I believe it's YMCA Wilmerding, at the Edgewood Primary Building. The term of the lease shall be coinciding with the district's 17-18 school year, beginning in August 2017, ending in 2018. The rent for the use of the leased premises will be $1. This is a program that has been at Edgewood since before I came in 2011. It is a early morning program that YMCA, and again, I'm almost 100% sure it's Wilmerding, not Greater Pittsburgh, operates, where they will take care of kids for families that have to work, and it's primarily for families with reduced income. And the reason we're only charging $1 is they don't charge for the services they provide. They've been providing it, and the district hasn't been charging them rent for, again, at least 8 or 9 years. And it's a service they provide at no cost to their families that work with them. So we asked the solicitor to come up with something that would have a lease, because we've done this before and haven't even had a lease. We felt we needed to have a lease that laid out each side's responsibilities. And it's literally been done almost as a gentleman's agreement for all this time, and that's not, obviously the way we want to do this. So this would just be to formalize this relationship that's been going on for a number of years.
Any questions?
The lease isn't actually attached. It says in relevant facts the lease is attached for your review.
You know what, Ms. Strasbaugh, thank you. That's I will yell at Ms. Lentz tomorrow. She has that. I will make sure that gets put on so you guys can have it and the community can for the weekend. My apologies. Yes, there should be a lease attached to that, and there is not one.
Any additional questions? Seeing none?
Seeing none, then we will go to Section 14, Superintendent, and request the acceptance in the amount of $2,000 from the Buncher Foundation for the Swissville Library. Pardon me for the syntax, that's incorrect grammar. But nonetheless, I'm asking to accept $2,000 from the Buncher Foundation for the Swissville Library. That's a grant that we get, Swissville Library got, and I believe it's going to be used to just build their collection.
Any questions on that? Okay. Seeing none.
Action item 14.2, request acceptance of the $1,256 grant from the Allegheny Schools Health Insurance Consortium. This is to be used for our wellness program. And the actually gives us $4 per employee per year. And it'll be used to continue some of our wellness programs for staff members. We do yoga classes. We do a couple of other things. Do you know more, Angel, what more we do? Yoga is the only one I'm familiar with off the top of my head.
We offered aerobics.
Yeah, aerobics. And
actually, today was the first day for yoga, coming back from the winter break.
It's remarkably well attended. Yes. Of course, they could just be trying to get out of work early, too. It's hard to say.
No, they started at 4.
Anyway, so we just need your permission to accept that.
Okay. Any questions on that?
Action item 14.3 would be approval of the MOUs with the Woodland Hills Education. We talked about this earlier, but I will.
They're attached.
That is
they are.
That is not on our screen here, Mr.
No, you're
Nelson?
not going to see it. It's under executive.
No. I mean, the tab itself is not showing on the screen. So.
Huh. Steve, do you know where that is? I look like I can just yell Steve and he shows up.
14.3.
Why does 14.3 not show up on the
It has a lock
screen?
on my.
Oh, it's got a lock on this one, too.
Yeah, I'm not sure if there's something that needs to happen to make that live. There is, in fact, a 14.3.
I don't know.
On the agenda.
Do you know why 14.3 has a lock on it and it doesn't show up here? Do you have any idea why? That would seem to suggest it's been locked down, but I don't know why that would be.
The only thing I think it's maybe not an action item.
Well, it is an action item. It says action right there.
Okay.
Motion is there.
Well, we can see it.
Yeah, I mean, it's there, I would promise you.
We'll correct that for next week for the public. As we'll correct it as quickly as possible for the public so that those are available to the extent that they are able to be. And just note for the record that there is, in fact, a 14.3 on the agenda for next week.
Can we put that on the agenda for the executive meeting for next week?
The MOUs?
Yeah, to discuss that.
Yes.
All right. Any questions?
These are the ones we talked about in exec
Those are
session
the ones
today,
we talked
right?
in the back.
Yes.
We talked about that earlier.
That's not what this content says. It's totally something different.
Oh.
Did you look at the tab?
Attachment.
The tab is something totally different than anything we discussed.
It says recommendation,
Yeah, these are the three.
just says approval of the WIA MOUs. This is the recommendation of the administration to the Woodland Hills School Board of Directors to approve the memoranda of understanding for the Woodland Hills School District, I should say Education Association, the board meeting on January 17th. What do you see, Mr. Grace?
I don't know.
Sorry. Pardon me. Those are the ones we discussed earlier, though, I assure you.
Should we?
No, you're good.
Are you sure?
Yeah, I lost the name. But I'll revisit that with you later.
Okay. Very good.
Okay.
Okay. Moving on to 14.4.
Action item 14.4, permission to ratify attendance at a meeting with Score Vision, sales for Mr. Robert Finney and Mr. Ronald Corsi at no cost to the district. They received a late invitation to go visit a site where a scoreboard we are considering is being used, and the company took them there at no cost to us. We just needed to ratify their participation in that.
Any questions on that?
Okay. We're going to have to go back.
Okay.
The third one, yes. I don't remember anything about the first two.
Yeah.
And she doesn't remember either. We were just
What are we
there.
talking about?
On the
14.3.
Okay, we're going to need to go into executive to talk
Right.
about that.
Yeah.
So, we can do that.
Can you just throw it on the agenda for next week?
We can either do that, or we can do that briefly after the meeting tonight.
All right.
Whichever you guys prefer.
just quickly, yeah.
Yeah, that's fine. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Are we okay to move on to 14.5?
Scoreboards.
Okay, 14.4. Any questions on that with regard to that meeting? Okay.
That's all I have, ma'am.
Okay. Is there any old business? Okay. Seeing none. Any new business?
Hold on.
Wait.
Sorry.
So we have a 14.5 that we're looking at.
Yeah.
I am seeing that here. Do you?
It's not up there.
We had put that in, and then we deleted it, but if you came and got your computer turned on before we did, it's still showing up.
Yeah, you don't
Because you guys wanted to have a motion to add, okay.
Well, right, because I got a motion to add that, but I already
Sorry.
seen
But,
it.
all right, so
Not
here's,
there.
all right, let me tell you what happened. All right.
Let me just refresh here.
Let me tell you, here's what happened.
I didn't turn. I
have it.
I had it on before.
We had it on before the executive session. Then at executive session, as you discussed it, you decided procedurally you wanted to add it as a new item. So we came running in here after the executive and quick and deleted it. However, some of you were speedier than others, and you had your computer turned on. And if you had your computer turned on prior to our deleting it, it'll still be on your computer. If you would refresh, or log out and log back in, it will be gone.
Now just hit the circle up at the top and it'll refresh.
I don't think it makes a whole lot of difference either way.
Okay, no, I just
What we're talking about for the good of the order is the addition of a tab for a contract to extend the services of Mr. Gigliotti. It appears to have been added at some point to the agenda, in which case it's fine. It wasn't there on the tabs when I looked at them earlier. So as a result, I thought we had to add them under new business. That may be my error. In any case, there will next week be a tab, 14.5, to do a contract with Mr. Gigliotti. Okay?
Do I need to?
Formally
I don't think we need to make a motion at this point. I think it's... if you want to do it, let's go ahead and do it
It's
to
not
be,
up
to be
there.
safe. You're right.
Yeah, when I-
Let's go ahead and do it to be safe. So, is there a motion under new business?
I would like to make a motion to add a contract for Mr. Gigliotti. Well, to maintain his financial officer and strict oversight.
Okay. Is there a second to add that to the agenda for next week?
I'll second it.
Okay, great. So that'll be added to the agenda for next week. Any other new business? Seeing none. We will not have committee reports next week, as the committees have not met since the December meeting. Which brings us to public communication. Is there anyone who wishes to address the board at this time? Seeing none, is there a motion to adjourn? Is there a second? All in favor?
Aye.
I'm sorry? you have public comment for the board? You have comment for the board?
Really, Mr. Allen? How are you?
I'm sorry, before you begin, can you identify yourself with your name and address, please?
Oh, yes. My name's Elise McClung. You want my full address?
Your place of residence, please.
Turtle Creek, Pennsylvania.
Thank you.
I have called you several times in December. I came down here, and I guess this is how I can talk to you. So can you guys let me know, at your school districts, when the student tried to commit suicide, what's the protocol?
I don't think that's something we can appropriately address here because
I
will be happy to meet you after the meeting and we will set up a time to talk.
I think we should discuss this.
May we have your last name? We didn't get it.
Oh, McClung.
McClung. Thank
That's
you.
my last name.
Thank you.
I think we should, because I had this problem at the intermediate that my daughter tried to kill herself and the protocol fell through because she's a troubled child. So no one knows the protocol? No?
We have a student assistance program that would fall under. Ma'am, I'm not going to discuss your child's situation in an open meeting like this. It's just not going to happen. And I'm going to advise the board not to do it either.
Such as the intermediate, asking my daughter, when is she leaving the school? Did she find a new school? I'm getting these phone calls. This is nothing I want to be addressed here. Because I have no problem.
No, because
with
the people involved are not here. This is. I don't believe this is an appropriate conversation to have an open board
already
meeting.
contacted the news and everywhere else. But I have no problem with going public.
Feel free. I mean, that's your right.
So you guys,
if you'd like to talk to me about it, I'll be glad to do that.
We're talking right now. So nobody has no protocol? No? So it's fine for a 10-year-old child to try to kill themselves at school because they don't feel accepted by their teachers, or the principal say it's not her problem?
Well, man, I think this would be better addressed if you schedule a meeting with some of the staff and that way.
Who's going to call me back? Because nobody has ever.
Mr. Klein, if I have
privacy of your daughter.
No. I'm her mother. And I'm saying this don't have to be private. Not at all.
Well, you do realize you're on TV, so
that's fine.
Hundreds of people are.
Actually, that is excellent. Because I done wrote the news. I put this all over Facebook and everywhere else. I am very public. I don't care if it's about my child. I don't care if it's about my husband dying. I have no shame. So that's why you guys are not answering my question?
No, we won't discuss it. You can discuss it. We will not.
So you won't discuss it?
Because that would not be appropriate.
So I guess I will see you guys at court then? With the rest of the cases? Great. Thank you for your time.
Any other public comment? Is there a motion to adjourn?
Moved.
Second? All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you all.